In this video, I'm going to be talking about the Pathfinder tools in Illustrator, which is a really powerful way of combining shapes and doing some unique things to build new shapes out of old shapes. So the Pathfinder menu appears on the right-hand side in the Properties pane, just like everything else that we've been using so far. It is context sensitive, so it will only appear if we have multiple objects selected. I'm in my standard selection tool, and as you can see in this file, I have 3 layers. I have a bottom layer here, a middle layer, and a topmost layer. I'm going to select all these objects by dragging a bounding box across them, and the first Pathfinder option right here is Unite, and I'm going to click that. It simply has united all 3 of these objects. It's given them the appearance of the topmost object. That's important, so keep that in mind. And it's combined them. Now this is great, but this is actually a semi-destructive action. I can't come in here and edit these shapes like I could whenever we were working with compound paths and shapes in the last video. So there's actually a way to do this in Illustrator. It's kind of a hidden way. I'm going to undo this by just hitting Command Z. Instead of simply clicking this Pathfinder Unite, I'm going to hold down Option or Alt on Windows and click the Pathfinder Unite. And this time it made a compound shape out of that. So I can come in here and, just like before, I can double click to enter isolation mode. I can edit these, move these around until I get them how I like them. And then whenever I double click off of isolation mode, so just into this white space, my shape is back together as one united shape. I'm going to go ahead and undo that. So in every time that we use the Pathfinder tool in this class, we're going to be doing that Option click or Alt click on Windows to create compound shapes rather than these destructive shapes that we can't edit. Let's go ahead and go to the next one. This is called minus front. I'm going to hold down Option and click it. Minus front takes the frontmost layers and subtracts them from the backmost layer. So you can see it subtracted these 2 shapes from this back shape. Again, I created a compound path, so if I double click, I can come in here in isolation mode and edit this, and then just double click any white space to enter back to our document. The next one is intersect. If I hold down Option and click, it finds the intersection of your selection and creates a new object based on that intersection. I'm going to undo that. And I'll show you what happens whenever we only have 2 selected. So I'm just going to select these, this red and this blue square. I'm going to click intersection. I'm holding down Option and clicking that. And it created just this, right? It's only where they intersect, that's what you're left with. And it takes the appearance of the topmost layer. Let's select all 3 of these again. Let's go to Exclude. Exclude is the opposite of intersection. It's kind of like the compound shape that we've used before. And this time what it's done is it's created only areas where it doesn't intersect with other layers. So it's kind of the inverse of intersection to a degree. It cuts out the areas where there are intersections and leaves this. I mean, it's a little bit weird whenever you have 3 because it leaves this one. If we go ahead and undo that, let's just select 2 and do that same command. So Option, click. So it's just doing that. If I select just these 2, Option, click, it's just doing it there. And again, that's a compound shape that I can come in and edit at any time. Now to get to more Pathfinder options, I simply click this dot, 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 and there's other Pathfinders in here. Now these do not work in the same way. These are destructive, so use them with caution. You can use them, but just use them with caution. So I'm going to go ahead and select all 3 of my objects, click this dot, 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 and let's do the divide command. Now the divide command is really interesting. It creates a group of these objects, so I need to ungroup this to actually see what it's done. But basically, anytime that there's an intersection, it has split the object. So let's click this ungroup over here. A group, by the way, is just simply a way of grouping objects together. So I click ungroup. I can come in here and select each one of these individually. This can be really useful if you want to kind of explode an object or find a unique way of modifying an object and getting a special shape that you need. I'm going to go ahead and undo that. Let's go to the next option, which is trim. Trim uses the objects and their strokes to cut at intersections. If I just click ungroup, I can pull each one of these separately and see they've trimmed each other. Just hit Command Z until I'm back to normal. Merge combines the objects together. It's basically the same thing as trim. Crop, it's going to use the objects to crop sections out of another object. It's a little bit confusing to use, but it works pretty well. Outline is basically only going to keep the outlines of the objects. And minus back, you can probably imagine what that does, just like minus front. It subtracts the backmost layers from the topmost layer. So in general, you're going to be using these basic Pathfinder tools right here, and you're going to be option clicking them in order to do their actions and create a compound shape. So option click this. Now keep this in mind. These are really, really powerful ways to non-destructively punch holes or create new objects, create new interesting shapes, and find some unique ways to approach shape building in Illustrator.